Technologies, and we're very excited to be kicking off part 2 of a year-long webinar series that we are doing with AchieveUnite. Focus of today's call is partner profiling and building your channel ecosystem. So it should be a really interesting topic, and we're looking forward to what everyone on the call has to say. Joined today, we have CEO of Technologies, Connor McFarlane. We have Teresa Carrigal, the CEO of AchieveUnite, and Jim Richings, a senior advisor at AchieveUnite. We'd like to keep this panel as communicative as possible and as interactive as we can. So if you have questions along the way, please feel free to drop those in the chat box, or if you'd like, you can chime in. We'll do pauses incrementally to allow for dialogue. That all said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Connor, and we'll kick this off. And we're really excited to have everybody on the call today. So thanks for joining us.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Tom. All right, Teresa, we got you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Welcome. Cool. Hey, good to see everybody. Well, I guess I can't see everybody. I think you're all there, but I don't know if I can see anybody else's camera. Anyways, as Tom said, yeah, this is the second installation of a year-long thing we're going to be doing with AchieveUnite this year, just around, you know, some teasers and a culmination of best practices on how to succeed in the channel. So, you know, personally, a little bit of bio on myself for those of you that I don't know. I think there's some new faces here that some names I recognize and some I don't, but I've been in the tech space for 20 years. Worked at CDW for a while, left to start 3i. Our specialty, this is, you know, vendor focused day today here. The vendors that we work with from a distribution standpoint are what we call like emerging and mid-market vendors. So this is a kind of a combination of work that, you know, our experience over 10 years at 3i, and with the folks at AchieveUnite, we've done a lot of cool collaborative stuff with them recently. I'm looking forward to bringing you some more. So today's session is on partner profiles, and I think this is something that's often overlooked. It's maybe not the most glamorous thing, but I think it's something that, you know, it warrants a lot of time and attention. So Laura, if you want to go ahead, or whoever's running the slides, you can go ahead and go on to the next slide. So if this is your first time in one of our sessions, I highly recommend, if you haven't, take a look back at our, we did a channel building essential webinar, and it really is kind of your first step of fundamental things you want to do when you get started in the channel. And this is also applicable if you're, you know, if you've been in the channel for a while, always a great tune-up. But things we talked about incredibly in the last session were executive alignment and the importance of that as, you know, flowing down into your channel strategy. So definitely check that out if you haven't. And this session is probably going to build on a lot of that stuff, and some of those fundamentals are really important as you get going in the channel. So go ahead to the next slide. All right, so partner profiles. Let's get into the specifics here. You can keep going. And this, like I said before, this really cascades. Your partner strategy is directly stems from your business goals. So it's really important that you're clear on your business goals, and that's really going to shape your partner strategy. Jim, why don't I turn it over to you? Jim's run channels for a few different companies here, and we'll get Jim's perspective on this. Jim, what do you think here?
Jim may have had an issue on the PC. Are you back, Jim?
I am. Can you hear me? I am just now coming back. Yeah.
Great.
Computer issues. Sorry about that.
We are talking about business goals, and both you and I are former channel chiefs. So how important is it that your business goals and your strategy are aligned?
Oh yeah. No, it's huge. And sorry about the technical glitches. Murphy's Law just hit me hard. So let me just say welcome everybody, and I hope the next 45 minutes or so is real valuable use of your time. So yeah, no, it's critical to be aligned with the goals. I mean, it's important to sort of ask yourself as you're recruiting a partner or developing partners. I know we have vendors of all sizes on this webinar. So some have a very mature program, others just starting a program, but it's really important to ask yourself when considering recruiting or developing which business goals the partner aligns to. And they can be diverse. They can be as broad and simple as revenue growth, right? Everybody wants revenue growth, increased profitability, et cetera. But it could be specific as monetizing an acquisition. You may have made an acquisition and it represents a new market, an adjacent market, and you may need to build a partner ecosystem to address that acquired company and to provide a return on that investment. So it really just boils down to what are the business goals, and being honest with yourselves as leaders as to how clear a connection, how tight an alignment there is with those goals, and build your ecosystem accordingly.
Yeah, we see so much of a race to sign up partners, right? And this is a really helpful step to make sure you're tightly aligned with your business goals. Let's talk a little bit about what's the partner landscape look like. We've got some little teaser icons here on this slide, but the partner landscape is shifting, and there's a couple of things that are happening in the last really 5 years or so. We've got partners that may have fit neatly in one box in the past, as maybe they were a VAR, maybe they were really a pure play MSP. We don't say direct market reseller anymore for the CDWs of the world, but national solution provider. But what you found is there's a lot of hybrid business models, and it's confusing to really ascertain, what is this partner? What do they do? How do they make their money? We tend to look at what their primary revenue source is and classify them that way. But if you look around and you look at, Amazon and the AWS partner ecosystem or GCP, you might see, one partner listed as an MSP somewhere and that same partner listed as a VAR in someone else's partner program. So, it's really important that when you think about your partner mix, you also really understand the business models. And with the evolving business models has come these new channels. A lot of this has evolved out of I want to say the word shadow IT here, right? But a lot of the applications, the growth in cloud has made it easier for companies to deploy technology without IT. What that's created is a whole parallel channel ecosystem of other types of companies that you may end up partnering with in some capacity. They may be marketing agencies, they may be accounting firms, they may be consultants. There's a resurgence, I think, in referral models. So all of that's happening. And when you start to build your partner profiles, you really got to understand this landscape shift and understand these business models, because it's really important that you know your partners. Jim or Teresa, anything you guys want to add here?
I think it's pretty straightforward, Connor. You touched on a lot of it. I think it's important from a timing perspective as well. I've been around a while, and I've led companies in sort of various stages of their journey to be a partner-led company. And sometimes building out the channel is your first. The traditional channel is really your first objective. That's where the company wants to go. But I've been on the other side of it, where the first strategy that really required investment and development was an alliance strategy, right? And then the channel followed. So it's ultimately, I think you're going to have to address both, and you're going to have to address the reality of that. These are overlapping, and they will overlap in terms of strategy and in terms of creating opportunity, but they'll also overlap just down at the street level in a transaction. And if there's economics involved on both sides, where there might be a channel partner and a referral fee, got to figure out how to deal with that, and how to be prepared for that, and how to get visibility to it, so it stays as a good piece of business, and you're not paying out too much.
Yeah.
Just one other thought, you guys, too, is, and we wrote a 3-part series on this in Forbes around the notion of the ecosystem, not the linear channel, and how all of these folks sort of play together in an ecosystem. That's one of the big emerging trends. And while we're on this webinar, I'll put that link into the chat if you want to learn more about that concept as well.
Yeah, that whole ecosystem of, you may have a referral partner that business closes through, one of the traditional partners, maybe a logo that you see on the left side of that graph there. But I think, critical point to take away here, you got to know their business models and understand how they go to market, understand how their customers consume their offering, right? An MSP is really, they're not selling the product, they're selling a service. And there's a fundamental difference in how you want to engage with them once you've kind of built your profile of your ideal partner ecosystem. Go ahead to the next slide, Laura. So this is something that, we've worked with hundreds of vendors over the years, from, the kind of the sweet spot for us is 30 million in ARR to $500 million. And there's a huge bias to say yes. We want to sign partners, right? We want to say yes. We want to just race to sign them up and not really understand them. So, Jim can probably attest from his time, and I'll give him the floor here in a second. But there's just a lot of MBOs that we see in the channel are tied to maybe the channel leads number of partners they're signing up. And I'm going to tell you, I think you got to resist that urge to sign up every partner. You want to understand your profile, or see some pizza. I don't know what that was.
Or eat pizza.
Jim, you've been around this a long time. What do you think here?
Yeah, I've definitely been on the wrong side of signing up too many partners. And right off the top, I would agree with you, Connor, that building any compensation metrics or kickers around wholesale recruitment of partners is a mistake, unless, and this is a big unless you are adhering strictly to the profile you built. Right? If you built the type profile that aligns really well with your business and helps you retire those goals we talked about earlier, yes, absolutely, go for it. Try to bring those partners into the fold. But I'm not going to name companies, but one of the 3 companies I worked for over the past 20 years or so as channel chief, we decommissioned more partners by far than we recruited, because we were just wasting people's cycles. We were giving them access to our portal. We were giving them access to battle cards against our competition. Many of those competitors were partners with, and we were just exposing a lot of assets to a dormant channel. So just be careful. It's much easier to add than it is to subtract. And I think that you just have to resist that urge. I really agree with the bold print here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jim. Let's talk a little bit. Let's get in. We're kind of giving you some high level, know your partner. A little
hey,
bit.
Connor, can I add one thing?
Build the profile. Pardon me?
Can I add one thing before we move on the slide, and before Teresa slacks me and says stop talking? And I'll figure out how to get my camera working. I don't know what happened here, but we'll figure that out as we go here. A lot of, in my recent experience, a lot of the new partners and this resist to sign up partners came because a customer basically mandated that we run this piece of business through this partner, right? And we oftentimes, hey, we're going to win the deal. We're all set up, and the customer says, hey, we buy through these guys, and the partner invariably was not in our ecosystem. And hey, that's great. Sometimes it is a lead to a new partner, but oftentimes, just be honest and say, well, they don't really fit our profile. They're not going to be someone who maps well with where we're going as a company. So just be honest and do the deal. By all means, do the deal. Maybe sign some sort of one-off transactional agreement, but don't waste your own cycles, 3I cycles, the partner cycles, and put them through a contracting and onboarding process when they really don't fit your profile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've all got limited calories, right? So you want to engage with the partners where you're going to see reciprocation. You want to know that their profiles match. You can only spread yourself across so many partners effectively. So I think it is really important, right, to just have that pause button, check it, make sure it's a good fit. Laura, you want to go ahead? We'll get into the profiles here. because we talked a little bit about the high end, high level stuff, you know, understanding your partner, understanding the different models. Let's get into maybe building the profile. I think whether you've been in the channel for a while, it's always a good refresher. If you're newer to this, here's some tips on where do I start? I know some of this stuff is simple, but I think it is worth just refreshing or reiterating some of this. So next slide, please. The first thing that a great exercise to start with is to do a competitive benchmark and then a gap analysis. So take a look at who are your competitors, who are their channel partners, what do they look like. There's a lot of there's a lot you can find out there. You can also get a really good sense of what we would like complementary channels and again some characteristics of partners that may be really valuable for your channel. So if you make a mobile app, for instance, maybe you want to look towards who's in Apple's ecosystem, who's in Samsung's partner ecosystem. Look at the UEMs. Look at Workspace ONE or Ivanti now, or formerly Mobile Iron, or Maz 360. Understand who makes up their partner community. Beyond that, take a look at some of the industry leaders. You can look at Channel Insider and CRN, both have a lot of information on partner programs and 5-star partner programs. You can see CRN's list. They usually publish it every year. You can go look and benchmark, what types of partners they're working with. You can also see a lot about their partner program that may be helpful for you there too. And at the end of the day, that's going to leave you with, okay, where are you today? And where do you need to be? And what do you need to do to get there? And that'll help you, get started on your journey to get your partner profile started. Jim, anything, or Teresa, anything you want to piggyback on here?
I'm going to defer to Teresa. I know we do a lot of benchmarking for our clients as, of competitive programs, which, might be interesting here.
Yeah, I agree. And the only other thing I would add is programs, one size does not fit all, especially in these incredibly changing times. And so really taking great care in looking at your goals and aligning a program and building a program with those. And, I'm a big fan of getting outside help, whoever that is. It could be you, Connor, it could be Jim, but make sure you get some external inputs into building that.
Absolutely. Let's go on to the next slide, Laura. So again, we want to just go back to this know your partner when you're building their profile. So this is the stuff you're really going to want to dig in on. And this is not an exhaustive list by any means. It's going to look different for, depending on your business. You're obviously going to want to customize this, but understanding what's the partner's core go-to-market offering, what's in their top 3, top 5 stack of solutions they go to market with, assuming it is someone that's reselling product. If it's an MSP, it's obviously a different game here. Their product is their managed service. Understand their capabilities, end to end. What can they do for you, both from a pre and post sales standpoint? How important is services to their business? Is there a professional services play for them around your offering? Can they sell your product without your involvement? Those are things you really want to understand. And there's a lot of vendors out there that are very interested still in what we would call, the co-sell model, where they're really leveraging partners to try to get in the door somewhere, but they're interested in owning a lot of that sales cycle. That may be great, but for instance, I say this is a very blanket statement about MSPs, but MSPs are typically not interested in that model. They'd rather sell in what I say vendor independent. They probably don't want you involved. They're selling their service. You may be under the hood. So the way that you want to know that about your partners, and you want to, got to figure that out when you're building your profiles. Geography, obviously, these are some obvious ones. Where do they align with you as far as their target verticals, some of their key customers? What is on deck for them for the 12 to 18 months ahead as far as their focus? Who do you know organizationally? Who are your sponsors there? How can they help you succeed? There's a whole world around contracts, and as Jim said, you may get you may start your channel because an end customer says, hey, I would prefer to buy here. I have a contract with this company. We buy on this contract because we're a government agency. We buy through this group purchasing organization, GPO, if they're a healthcare agency, and that could kind of drive your channel. So there's a lot of channel building that could be done just because you need contract exposure that you can't get directly. And then really know how they get paid, right? Understand how your sellers get paid, or their sellers get paid, and that's going to help you really make sure that you're well aligned in when you engage with them. Jim or Teresa, anything you want to?
I'll add one thing. I mean, these are all really good. I don't have a lot to add. I spent the last 10 years or so sort of deeply rooted in cybersecurity. And you go back to the first bullet on core products and solutions. We had a lot of partners that we talked to that wanted to get into a space, wanted to get into cybersecurity because it's top of mind with their customers, and it's really hard to do an assessment of their ability to cross that chasm. So I would say if they're not in that market, if they're not in your market, you're not a player in your market, it's, I would pause and think, okay, they want to get into my market, but is it the best option to help them get there? It could be, but you'll see, you do see that, and I saw a lot of that. Companies who are aspiring to get into certain solution areas versus having the years of experience, the subject matter expertise, the thought leadership, the trusted advisor, the relationships, all that stuff. So just a little added color there.
That's terrific. And I just want to say that I see several of our good AchieveUnite friends on this webinar. And so I just want to tell you, I'm so glad that you're here, and it's terrific. And I hope you're getting value out of it. And we definitely want to hear about that at the end as well.
Yeah, I got a good question for you guys that someone direct messaged me on. So
Love it.
You go on to the next slide, Laura. So, we're starting to recap some of this stuff here for you, but recruiting partners, maybe I'll cover the first bullet, right? We talked about complementary channels. Look at, where to start. You got your profiles built. You want to get going on recruiting. Great way to look. A great start is to look at complementary channels. It's a really good place to start building your partner community. And or if you haven't explored that in the past, obviously something that you can do today. Jim, do you want to talk about the rest of this slide?
Well, certainly distribution is near and dear to my heart. I've been running channels, almost exclusively two-tier channels, and it's such a cost-effective way to ramp that ecosystem. If you can partner with a distributor who understands your profile and can act on it with your participation in guidance, there's so many benefits to distribution. Most of you probably understand the bulk of them, or you wouldn't really, I think, be here. I think the last bullet is pretty interesting. I said a few slides ago that it's really important to get your execs involved and get them, get them tied to your partners, do advisory councils, do exec sponsor programs, but just be aware of what you're getting yourself into, because they will then expect a quick return from. So if you get them involved with a partner, they're going to bump into you or text you or Slack you, a month later and say, hey, how's that partner doing? How much business have they booked recently? So the last point is key, and it's key to sort of educate your execs and educate your stakeholders within the company of just how long it takes to build a partnership to consistent productivity. It takes a long time, and it takes a lot of resource. So it's obviously critical to get your profile back up to the reason why we're here today. Get your profile right, stay true to the profile, recruit and develop against your profile, and then just hopefully get the right resources and the right amount of patience within your company, because it does take a while.
Thanks, Jim. Laura, why don't you go to the next slide here? We're getting close to 30 minutes in, so we'll try to get a wrap on this soon and open it up for any questions. As you do this, remember what's important to partners. I've seen 30 different iterations of this. We pulled, this from talking to partners, doing advisory stuff with partners, but remember this is so critical and often overlooked, right? People think that partners are looking to sell new stuff. That's not always the case. I feel like there's a lot of apathy towards new solutions. So getting them to engage, walk a mile in their shoes. You want to make sure that the profile is helpful, and you need to have some of the fundamental things in place. So consistent, simple sales process is so important to be scalable in the channel. You want to make sure that there's a slide in here, and this is a whole other topic for conversation, but your sales process, your compensation structure, these are things that we'll do future events on. There's a lot of stuff going on in that bullet. You got to have a compelling value proposition. I think a lot of vendors always feel like, hey, we've got a very unique piece of technology. I think partners have heard that 1,000 times. So just, beware that they're probably leery to that message because that's what everybody says. So you really got to understand the value proposition from the end customer standpoint, and make sure the partner does too. And I think they're probably they've grown pretty tired of hearing that every new solution is a unicorn, right? So there's a healthy dose of skepticism there from our experience with partners and expanding into new areas, new product lines, etc. Aligning your coverage to your partners is really important. Obviously, the money, they want to make money. Everyone's in business to make money, so the economics have to work, and it's about trust. I mean, a lot of this, that 12 to 18 months in the slide before, you've got to show partners that they can trust you, and building your profile, right? This is to kind of tie this back to the profile thing. You can really burn yourself with bad first impressions with partners. So you really want to know who's a good fit. You don't want to burn their calories and their time on bad fits. So, know who's a fit, and then focus on cultivating that relationship. And it's going to take time. Channel's not an overnight success. It's going to take you some time to recruit. But there's some slides an interesting slide that I don't have at my disposal, but it's the National Association of Wholesale Distributors did a study on SaaS company profitability, and those that leverage channel. This is around $250 million in top line revenue. Had somewhere around a 10% a 10% advantage in EBITDA margin over folks that didn't use the channel. So there's a lot of value to be realized with the channel, but you want to do it the right way. You want to start it, deliberately, and it's going to take time. Knowing your partner, knowing who you want to sign up, really, really important fundamental step. So I think that's probably bringing us to a wrap. Jim, Teresa, anything you want to add? We could probably go to the takeaway slide. Next slide here. I'll let you guys maybe sum it up.
I think, go ahead. So I'm sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. Was bound to happen. So simplicity, predictability, ease of doing business is constantly called out as one of the most important things. Assuming, of course, you've got an economic model that makes sense, and you've got a compelling value proposition, and you've got the solution in the market for the time, right, for the problem set in the market, and all those things are sort of table stakes. If you can be predictable, if you can be simple to do business with, you're gonna win out. That you don't differentiate. I don't think you really differentiate or stand out based on all the bells and whistles of your channel program. There's certainly some very important things you need to have in the program. I think you stand out in how you execute that program and how you build relationships, both at the headquarter level and in the field. I think personnel are the great equalizer. Budgets come, budgets go, programs expand, programs contract. But if you've got the right people with the right skill set, the right relationships, you know, they're gonna take you through those peaks and valleys that we've all been through in terms of getting the resources you think you need to build out your program. So those are the things I always tended to focus on, just making sure I've got the best team I possibly can hire and develop and invest in that team. Making sure that they've got the right acumen for what we're trying to accomplish, and that it's about insane focus on execution every day. Move it forward every day. Some days you move an inch, some days you move 100 miles, but you move forward.
That's great. And by the way, I love the comments in the chat from Carmen and Janet and Jason and Kate about other topics, and also some guidance from some of you on this. So take a look at the chat if you get a chance. The only other takeaway I have is this isn't rocket science, and it also is not that easy. We have to make it look easy to the partners and to the customers, but this is really complex stuff. And you know, just reach out. There's a lot of places to get assistance and help, and you know, we're all willing to chat and help as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love the comments. If folks want to hang around, we could try to chat about a couple quickly. I know these are all topics that we want to dive into. We've got, you know, a year's plan of activities together, and I think I saw Jason Turner talking about compensation. That's on the docket. Or let me go down this list here. Yeah, Stephanie, understanding how to stand out in a crowd. I think, you know, this is we'll try to tackle some of these here in the last couple minutes as we're wrapping. But you know, when Jim was talking, and I'm reading your comments, Stephanie, I'm thinking about just consistency. I've seen so many vendors get discouraged because they feel like they're not standing out because they went in and they did one event with a partner, and it was like, well, hey, it's been 3 months. Why am I not seeing a payback from that? And it's, well, a lot of this stuff, it is execution, and it's consistency and reliability, and being present with your partners is so important. And, you know, the ones that are figuring it out have regular presence figured out. And I think that is critical. And with that, it really helps to have some foundational business, because it's tough to get presence with partners if you don't have any joint business together. That's a really tough. It's tough to continue to tap them on the shoulder for time. So, you know, strategies I've given before to vendors is, when you think about investing in your channels, you know, one great way to invest, folks are talking about marketing funds, you know, all that stuff. There's a time and a place for that. However, when you're trying to get partners to engage, you want to take down deals together. That's the best way they're going to learn. So if you can look at those kind of things as an investment in your channel, that's going to give you some collateral to get in front of your partners to engage with them regularly. But I think the consistency piece, to Jim's point, is so important, and it's hard. This stuff, I think what you guys said is great. I mean, you know, growing my own business, I've said so many times, I don't think it's about having the best, you know, ideas in the world, the best product in the world. Those things help, but that execution, that executional component and that consistency is so important, especially, you know, as our company's grown, it's harder and harder. So I think, you know, building that executional excellence is important. I got a question that came in that was just for the panelists, that someone direct messaged me, though, which is like, what was the biggest mistake you made in your channel career when you're engaging with partners? And would you be willing to share it?
That's an easy one for me. I was in my 30s, which I'd like to say I'm still there. And I was the channel chief at Sienna. And man, I really thought Gary Smith should only focus on channel. And that's what I couldn't figure out, why he didn't care back in the day about the channel. And I failed to tie the work that I was doing in the channel at the beginning, early on. So it was my first time as a global channel chief, to tie it to the overall company goals and the board level goals and the overall direction of the company. And I figured it out within a year or so, but man, I didn't get it at the beginning. So don't silo yourself in the channel. That's my lesson learned from my early 30s.
Well, if I just add one thing we've had, I don't know, a few hundred vendors that we've worked with in some capacity over the years. I would say the number one most key indicator of if they're going to be successful in the channel or not is, do they have executive alignment? Because that will just derail. I mean, you got your CFO that doesn't get it, that doesn't understand why we're giving away margin. You might have your CMO that doesn't understand channel marketing. You got your CEO that, who I don't know, depending on your size company, they could be focused on different, meetings with investors. Who knows? But you're gonna, that will derail you so fast.
That'll be another one of our topics, is gaining executive sponsorship and how to do it, because we're good at that now, Jim, right? And we're good at helping companies do that now, but it is unequivocally critical.
It is, and early on and often, get them on board early on. I mean, I had this, I don't want to elongate this question, but it's a really good one. It's a critical topic. But when I joined, when I became channel chief at F5, I had been with the company 12 years already. They were sort of a well-known channel company. I made some assumptions that the executives were all on board and supportive, and I think they were at a high level, but I really needed to get them more involved in the details and the strategy and the day-to-day planning of what we were doing, not the least of which, so I can come back and ask for the resources that I need and tie them to the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. But I think I took too long to get the execs, educated on what we're trying to do.
Cool. Thanks, Jim. Man, there's all sorts of great questions. Let's just go to the what's on deck slide, and we'll share some of the stuff. And obviously the chat activity is great. This is great for future sessions. But this isn't the first time we've heard about sales compensation models. I think that's something that is on our list of agenda items, and how do we talk about it? That's a tricky one, right? You comp models and channel conflict, and there's stuff when we talk about corporate strategy and executive alignment. That's another place where things start to diverge, when you've got your direct sellers getting paid more than if a deal goes direct and through the channel, and that has all sorts of unintended consequences for your channel success. We've got a lot of questions over the couple sessions that we've done about marketing. The logical flow on this is, hey, we talked about executive alignment a little bit in our last session. We talked about some of the channel fundamentals, things you want in your program. We talked about building the profile. Now it's like, okay, I got this. I'm recruiting partners. I'm getting them signed up. Now what? That question of how to engage, how to cut through the mind share. So those are all things that are on deck that we're working on content for future sessions. So love the chat. Keep it coming. Maybe we'll do a survey and ask the folks for some more feedback, because it's more fun, honestly, if we can just try to answer questions or give opinions than present PowerPoint slides. So love it. And everyone loves a survey. Thank you, Kate. All right. Appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you so much. Love the questions. Just about 3i for those of you that aren't familiar, and then I'll let the folks at AchieveUnite talk about them. We're a value-added distributor. Our focus is really on 3 pillars. Mobility was what we cut our teeth on, and that's since evolved to include security and an identity practice now this year. From a vendor standpoint, we're really focused on mid-market. Why we're doing this stuff with AchieveUnite, I've done a lot of, I'll say, like, free consulting over the years, and it's really not our business model. And always looking for friends in the industry that can help our vendors be more successful, because I don't have the time. We don't have the time organizationally to spend in a way that's as meaningful as we'd like. So we're doing this stuff with AchieveUnite because they're an awesome place to go to get, your team, your executives, some exposure, some understanding to channel, to how to be successful in channel. They've got a ton of programs and content, and we're doing more stuff with them this year that I think will be valuable to folks here. So Teresa, Jim, anything you want to say about AchieveUnite?
Go ahead, Jim.
No, I'll let the founder and CEO cover this one, Teresa.
Well, I'm just thrilled that you all are here. Great job, both of you today. I would encourage you, if you do want to learn more, we're happy to set up a strategy session and just have a conversation. We offer boot camps, we offer custom workshops, we offer whole consulting engagements, lots of education. So just most importantly is to have the conversation and have a chat and see if we can help.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Great spending time with you all today, and appreciate all the great questions and feedback. You've given us a ton of things too.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you.
To try to talk about going forward. So look for the next one. We should have one in the next 2 months, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
All right.